In today's drawing, I'm going to be doing a fun, easy feather drawing that anybody can do. This is really beginner friendly and I think you'll enjoy it. Hi, I'm Rashonda and I'm the creator of this YouTube channel as well as the artbyro.com website where you can find over 250 art and drawing tutorials. I hope you will join me in today's drawing and that you'll feel inspired to create your own. So let's go ahead and go on over to the art studio and get started. Today I'm going to be drawing a feather, and these are so much fun to draw. I really love making them. They make great artist trading cards, which is what I'm doing today. So let's go ahead and get started like usual with some basic guidelines and shapes. So we'll start with a line for the center of the feather. And then let's go ahead and do kind of an oval shape, a long oval shape for the feather. So this will just help guide us a little bit so we're not just trying to draw it straight out right away. Sometimes that can be a little bit intimidating depending on what your skill level is and how comfortable you are. So let's go ahead and put the center part in. So we're just going to use that line we made as a guideline, and then we'll thicken it up by having two lines in there. And then I like to angle it at the bottom, because usually when you see feathers, that's kind of how they look at the bottom. And then we can go ahead and add on the actual shape of the feather. So I like to start at the top. And we'll make some little notches in it to give it a little bit of character without getting too detailed. Now, of course, you could make yours even more detailed if you wanted to. I guess this is just a bit more stylized, not quite as realistic. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing over here. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot going on here. It's pretty simple. Beginner friendly, very much so. So if you're someone who's just starting out, you should be able to follow along and make this fun little feather. And then the next thing will be to add an outline. And I'm going to do that with a black outlining pen. And before I do that, I think I'm going to make this just a little bit longer. Bring that down there just so this distance here isn't quite as short. And then for the outlining, just trace over your lines. I just have this black outlining pen. And you literally just trace right over top of your pencil lines that you made. Now you can use an outlining pen that's a little thin. You can make one that's thicker. You can vary your line weights. A lot of times you'll see where there's a heavier outline on the outside and a thinner outline on the inside. So a lot of different things you can do. And I always say when you're following along with a tutorial to go ahead and just follow along the first time. But then after you draw it one time, I would suggest doing it multiple times after that, but changing it up a little bit, add some different things, make it your own. Think about different things you can try and ways you can do something different. So after the regular outline part's done, we can do a little bit more. So add a little extra detail. We could draw some lines in here. Again, you can do this using thick lines. You could do this using thin lines. we're just going to add a little extra detail in here. And then what we can do with a thinner pen, if we wanted to, we could come in here and add some hatching or cross hatching. Now, if you put this or you don't put this, add these extras in here, whether you add them or not is going to change the overall look of your drawing a little bit. We could add a little shadow in here if we wanted. So it doesn't really matter one way or another if you add a little bit of shading like I'm doing here with the hatching. It's just going to change the overall look and feel of your drawing a little bit. So it's not necessarily right or wrong one way or another, it's just different. So you have to decide what sort of things you like and what you don't like. And when I talked earlier about trying different things, that's an example of something you could try. Maybe do one using the shading and try one without it and see which one you like the best. And if you're doing your drawing smaller, like I am here on the artist trading cards, they don't take as long to do, so it gives you a little bit of extra time that you could play around with some different ideas. Okay, so now we need to add color. And what I wanted to do for this one is to make sort of a galaxy image inside of the feather. So I'm going to do that by adding in some pinks and purples. So what I will do is start at the top and fill this in with the pink, and you can rotate your drawing so you can get to the edges better. And then we can blend these edges in a little bit. And then we'll actually, I think I'll make this come down a little bit further. And then I will take a darker color, kind of overlap that a little bit. And if you go outside of the lines a little bit, you could always go back with your black and just darken up that outside edge. Because sometimes these markers, especially as they get older and a little more worn out, they don't have the best tips for getting in there and getting those close edges. And then we will go to a darker color. And these aren't always going to blend completely, like kind of seamless, I guess you would say. It's really just going to depend on the markers you have, and to really get nice transitions, it takes a lot of different markers to get that color match perfect. So you might have, like here we have a little bit of a harsher edge, and we can try to blend that out as much as we can, but they're not always going to be super smooth. And then we're going to finish it up with a nice dark blue. And then what we can do is we can use a white paint pen, or I like to use a white jelly roll pen. We can use that and add some stars in here to make it look even more like a galaxy. So then once again, we're going to take our lighter color of the two where they meet and blend that together. And then for the center part here, I'm just going to use this light pink. We'll just make that pink like that. And then for the white, all we're going to do is just put in some random dots. And I would say vary the size of them a little bit. You don't want to just make just a bunch of little small dots all over. Add some that are a little bit bigger. And then you'll kind of have to decide how many you want, what you think looks good. And kind of balance out between the bigger stars and the smaller ones. And then what I like to do to finish up my drawings is to use an accent color around the edge, or you could do something in the background. It might compete a little bit with the galaxy. You could do just black. That would probably look pretty cool to have these nice bright colors against black. So again, these are different things you can try, like I mentioned earlier, to try to do something different to make it more your own. You could try doing one with a black background. Maybe you could even try using some kind of, like maybe paint pens or something that would color over black and use a black paper. Now just go over these edges here. I love this blue. I use it to do this quite a bit just because I enjoy the color so much. So that's it. That's it for our feather with the galaxy inside. As you can see, this is pretty quick. It's a nice beginner-friendly drawing. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you feel inspired to create some of your own artwork. And I will see you in the next one. Happy creating! Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you felt inspired to draw some of your own artwork. If you did, please hit that like button. That really helps me out. And you can also subscribe if you want to get notified of future videos. And before you leave, check out the description box. There is a freebie in there for you on how to start making your own artist trading cards. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!